What's up, everybody? It's Jake with BoostLink. Today we're going to be doing the timing on a K24. This should work on pretty much any K series. I went through, rebuilt my K20 head, decided to go and put it on. And while I was doing that, decided to go ahead and do all the components. So I'm going to walk y'all through that. Let's get started. Alright, so I got my car up on jack stands, got the tire off. And now what we're going to need to do to start is need to go and take off the idler pulley, the tensioner, and then from there, we should have enough room to start getting in there to get this mount out. All right, now that the tensioner and idler pulley are out of the way, get a decent amount of space there. Also took the crank pulley off. Now, what you want to do is support the engine. I like to put a block of wood between the jack and the oil pan to prevent any damage to it, or minimize any risk of damage, I should say. And then we're going to take this mount off. Now that we have the mount out of the way, we can remove the bracket. And now if you look at the bracket, you can see it is kind of tight in there. The easiest way that I've found for going and getting this out is that we want to go and take the jack, and you can raise and lower the engine a little. And as you do it, it's going to shift back or forward, and it'll depend on which way you need it. And you can use that to line these bolts up with the hole, because the top two, those come out fine. But the lower one down here, it's kind of a pain. So what you have to do is lower it, and then it's going to line up with that hole, and you can slide it out to be able to remove the bracket. Once the bracket's out of the way, then it's just a matter of going through and unbolting the timing cover. Once the mount and bracket are out of the way, let's go ahead and remove the valve cover. And then before we start taking the timing cover off, we're going to want to remove this sensor as well. All right, once everything's out of the way, we can start removing the bolts around the timing cover. Now, as you can see, there's not a ton of space to work with. And also what I found is the easiest way to do it is a little 1/4-inch drive ratchet and a Shortwell 10. And it still takes a little finagling to get. And however it goes, it's not that bad once you get used to it. The other thing to remember, whenever you're going and taking the timing cover bolts off, there's two that are in the bottom corner, of the timing cover that they have. It's like a chamfered end on it, and those go in the bottom corners. I'll show that in a second. All right, to what I was saying a second ago, if you look here, you will see how the base of this screw is a little bit different than this one over here. Now these right here are going to go in the bottom corners, and also right there, and then on the opposing side, there's also another one. So whenever you're putting it back together, if you look in, you're like, well, where do these go? That's where they go. Once all the bolts are out of the way, we're ready to go and gently pry off the timing cover. I say gently, sometimes it requires a little more persuasion than others. One thing to note, though, is whenever you go and you're doing it, if you look here, where the VTC solenoid is, there's also a second bolt hole up there. And also, if you're prying on it, it's not going anywhere, make sure you take a look there and that you remember to remove it. All right, guys, now that the timing cover's off, we're ready to start lining up the cams. While I was doing this, I had a couple of things that popped up. I'm pretty sure my VTC was junk, so I got a new one. I'll show you something on that in a second. Another thing is whenever you're lining up the cams, you can buy a little tool that looks like this. And if you look on the back of the cams there and right there, there's two holes that go through the sensor plates and into the upper cam caps. So you can take those, put this in, it'll lock the cams in place. Another thing to note is whenever you go and you're timing your engine, in this case, I'm replacing the VTC, so note that whenever I move it, the VTC is not locked. I have made the mistake whenever I first started messing with K-Series. I did not know that, and I'm pretty sure that's how I trashed one of my VTC gears. So make sure it's unlocked, and then once you go and torque the bolt holding it down to place, I think it's like 86 foot-pounds, something like that. Check the manual for the exact answer. However, once you go and torque the bolt down, and then you want to go and rotate it to lock the VTC gear in place. and from there line everything up, and you can finish up timing the engine. All right. So double check what the torque specs are. It's 83 foot-pounds for the VTC actuator. And whenever you do it, it also recommends going and lubing the inside of the cam gear as well as the bolt. I had a little ARP Moly lube that I'm using on the bolt. And then I just went and put some oil on the inside of the sprocket. And now we're going to go ahead and get that screwed in, torque it down, and then we'll go and put the new chain and tensioner on, get everything torqued down, and yep, hopefully everything should be ready to reassemble. All right, got the VTC bolt and all it's installed, torqued in, and last thing we want to do is lock it. So you'll see here how it's freely rotating. That's how you want it for an installation. And now that it's done, make sure it is locked in place. Otherwise, it's going to be moving around while you're trying to line things up. And here you can also see how I have the tool installed, and that is going and holding the camshafts in the position they need to be. After the cams are lined up, last thing to do is, if you look here, you will see that there's a mark there and there. You want to make sure those are lined up. And then let's see if I can get light on it. And there is also a dot there. And also on this, whenever you're going and putting your chain on, it's going to have different colored links, and all of those must line up exactly. There you can see we have the dots lined up with the colored chain links on both cams. That one's there. It's not showing up too well in the camera. And then if you look down on the crank, this is also lined up. And if you look, you can see a little dash sticking out on the lower sprocket. I don't know if it's going to show up that well on the video here, but it is there. But make sure those are lined up. Then go and rotate it a couple times. Make sure that everything stays lined up. And assuming it does, you should be good. Got everything buttoned up. All the lining marks are lined up with the proper links on the chain. Just out a little extra goodness while I'm at it. Now, last thing you want to remember, make sure you put this back on. And if you look at it, you'll see it says outside on it. And also make sure the outside is facing outside, otherwise you will have issues. Lastly, once you have the timing chain in place, then I'll go ahead and put everything back together. One step you might want to do, while you have everything apart, is go ahead and adjust the valve lash. Now, I did not record doing that. I'll do that in a later video, because I want to run this a little bit and then adjust it. But anyhow, I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.